My name is Vance Lucas. I put this together on how to build a tech community based on what we did in Oklahoma City. And so this is kind of a story of the booming tech metropolis of Oklahoma City and what we did there, because everyone knows Oklahoma City is huge in tech, right? And what we did there to kind of bring everyone together that was in the tech community. So we're going to run through all the steps, all the major things at least that we did to seed the community, to start it, to build it, all that kind of stuff. So the tech scene before 2012 was basically like this. And this one tumbleweed right here was like the Java user group. So they were kind of rolling a little bit. They've been going for like 9 years solid, which is impressive. There's a lot of Java in Oklahoma City, though, Java and .NET, because the oil and gas companies run all their systems on it, as you can imagine, kind of enterprise-y stuff. So the story of a tech scene is before 2012, there was really no user groups. Like I said, there was a Java user group here, but other than that, there was really no user groups or major events to speak of. Someone that came to the Oklahoma community and started a co-working facility did do some events. He did a Red Dirt JavaScript and a Red Dirt Ruby, and they were one-time conferences that unfortunately weren't repeated. And their attendance, I think Red Dirt was about 75 to 100 people, and Red Dirt Ruby was a little bit bigger. Probably had maybe 200 or so. So kind of some things trying to start a little bit by someone else. He ended up leaving the tech community afterwards, moving to Austin, but to a real tech community, right? No, I'm not going to say that. But yeah, the important thing is there were some user groups. I had just, I was trying to help lead the PHP user group, but there was like 5 people every meeting, so we killed it. There was really no sense of just no one came, no one was involved. So at this co-working space, it was called the OKC Coco. A guy and I met. His name is Jesse Harlan, and I had just closed the PHP user group down a couple months ago. There was another group that was like kind of sort of meeting. I forget which one it was, but it kind of died down too. So there's definitely interest in community. It just wasn't happening for some reason or another. So we get together and we're like, we want to do something still, because I don't want to live in a place with no community at all. So we kind of have to make it ourselves if you don't have a community there to begin with. So what can we do? We decided to start a JavaScript user group because everyone uses JavaScript. If you're Java, if you're .NET, if you're Ruby, PHP, Python, anything, you use JavaScript, guaranteed, at every single company that does anything on the web, even mobile stuff. We used the co-working space, had a mailing list, and so that was helpful to get us started. If it didn't have a mailing list, we probably would have mailed, well, we did, in addition to that list, we also used personal contacts to mail that we're starting a group. We also emailed some local businesses that we knew might be interested in this. So if you don't have a starting base, like a list that we had, you can use, you can basically just cold email businesses and say we're starting this user group, and you have to kind of pitch it. It can help your employees learn new things to better their skills, kind of thing like that. So we launched on this list. We ended up getting 72 people show up at our first meeting. And we were totally blown away because all of our previous efforts, it was probably under 10 people most of the time, unless someone came in from out of town or was driving through or something and talked about something big. At one of our PHP meetings, one of the guys from React, does anybody remember ReactDB? They're still going. They're like a NoSQL option. Anyway, one of those guys was coming through, and that was like our biggest PHP meeting, and it was nothing to do with PHP. It's just the React guy was there in town at the same time. So that was the only other bigger meetings that we had previously. So 72 people show up. I spoke on Jasmine testing with JavaScript, and it was a really good meeting. And the next meeting after that, we had a Node.js talk, like how to build a live chat in Node.js, which was really popular too. We built the mailing list from there. So at this meeting, we just went in, made a spreadsheet, and printed a bunch of copies out, and then passed them around, and had people just write their email address, and then we put them on a MailChimp list, and we said, if you put your email on, we'll send you emails for future meetings and reminders. And a lot of people want that because they want to know what's going on. And so they put their name on the list, and we sent them an email. We've been having regular meetings since this, so since January 2012. It's 2.5 years. Haven't missed a meeting. Our first meeting was 72. Then the second meeting was like 60, and then 50, and then 40 something. We were like, I don't know, this is maybe tailing off, and then it went back up to like 50 and fluctuated anywhere between 40 and 60-ish for a long time for the first year, depending on the topic. We've since gone up to our biggest meeting so far has been 82 people, which I come to Openwest and I feel like I'm preaching the choir with this stuff because you guys have done most of this stuff and you guys are doing this conference. It's awesome what you guys are doing, but for 82 people to come to just a user group meeting that happens at lunchtime, that's huge for Oklahoma City. This is where I meet. This is a prototype space. I've got 2 more pictures too. I just wanted to show you some pictures of our user group meeting. These are 3 separate meetings. We've got like a pizza and sodas and stuff over here. This is a maker space, so you see a bunch of tools and stuff. There's there's usually a 3D printer. I think that's it right over there, and there's various other stuff. But that's where we meet. And here's another meeting, full again, and yet another meeting. This is last month, full again. This is Phaser. This is Jesse Harlan gave a talk on Phaser.js. It's a video game engine, JavaScript. How to build a platform type video game in JavaScript. So that was cool. Maybe not useful at your work unless you work at a game studio, but cool nonetheless. And this talk is really geared at specifically how do you start from nothing. So I know you guys don't have this problem, but that's what this was created for. So how do you get started from nothing? Well, you have to plant the seed first. You got to start somewhere. So you start a user group. And if you don't have a user group in the area, then you are the user group, and you start one. If you're the one that cares about community and there being a community. It should be a group with wide appeal. We kind of found this out by trial and error, like I said. And it's not like there's not a lot of PHP users in Oklahoma City. There were tons. They just didn't come for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't know why. They do now, though, now that there's a larger community. Now more people know about it, and more people come to the PHP group that we restarted after this stuff. But it should be a general language or tech type. I've heard of communities where they've tried to start an Angular group or an Ember group or a React.js group or a Zen framework group or whatever. And it's going to be too specific. You're going to get probably low attendance, especially if you're starting from nothing. You want something with a little wider appeal. JavaScript is awesome for this. Like I said, everyone uses it. But any group is better than none. So if you're like, I don't really want to start a JavaScript user group, I really know PHP or Ruby or something better, then you can start there, because any group is better than one, and just see how it goes. There will be other people that care about the same things. You might have to do a little bit of work to find them. And if they're at your company, if it's something your company is using, you can start with your coworkers. So that's however big your group is, your work group is. And the popular tech stack may vary depending on the area. Oklahoma City, like I said, is a very energy-based economy. Oil and natural gas kind of rule the economy there. So a lot of people in the area are Java and .NET guys. That's kind of how it is. There's not a whole lot of open source. There's not a whole lot of tech startups. There's getting to be more as time goes by. But the most popular user group or whatever you're doing may be something else entirely, whatever's popular in that area. Find a good co-founder. I bolded this. You can't really see the bold that well. I should have underlined it too, but you don't want to start this by yourself. You want to have someone, at least one other person, maybe two, because you will get burned out. And even if you don't get burned out, there will be times where you just can't make it to a meeting. You've got something else going on. Your kid is sick, or you're out of town on vacation, or you're at a conference called Openwest, or whatever. The PHP user group, by the way, was today. So I wasn't there. But I'm running it with someone else, Jake. So he's taking care of it there. You got to find a good location. So you want to look for a local tech company or a community-friendly company, even if it's not a tech company. And they need to have some kind of space for it. That's like obvious, right? You can't meet if they don't have a space. But But a public library works well if they have meeting rooms. Some public libraries do, some don't. You kind of got to know. During the first year, we moved our group around a lot. We didn't find a dedicated space until last, let's see, it was almost a year ago that we finally found a space that we could partner with and be like, you know what, we're going to host you guys just indefinitely. You can always just meet here, guaranteed. So that was really cool. That was a good breakthrough for us, being consistent. Because if you move around a lot, it's going to be hard. People are really going to have to pay attention to your meeting location every time you send them an email that you're meeting. And you're going to lose some people just moving around a lot. So having a dedicated spot, consistency is good. Yeah?
I'm going to say about Utah open source, they can help you get spaces.
Yeah.
Because they, I know, like, we've worked with them to, I've been trying to start up a group, or
yeah,
like help with the group.
Sure.
And they help us get a space, and there's a building across the street that belongs to UVU, and they help us with that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
I
actually
work in that building.
Okay.
Right next to Utah Open Source, and yeah, anybody who wants to build a community like in Utah Valley.
And this is why I say I'm kind of preaching to the choir. In the second half of my talk, so the first half, the talk's kind of split in two. The first is like how to plant a seed, and the second talk is how to grow a community larger. And I actually will go into that. You can set up an organization that will help other user groups. And Utah, you guys have done that, which is awesome.
The group I'm working with we're struggling really to build. So this, we really do need to kind of start from scratch. It sounds like. So,
okay.
But I'm just saying that's the experience we got.
Yeah, you're at a college right now, so obviously a co-working space or a maker space can work. We were at a maker space. We started a co-working space. We tried libraries and community colleges. So we've kind of bounced around all of these, but these are all really good fits for locations that'll usually work with you.
So with the co-working space, do you just rent it for that day, or?
It depends. So yeah, it's going to depend on your relationship with whoever's running the space. A lot of people who open co-working spaces are pretty community-minded to begin with, and so a lot of times they'll just let you do the event for free, because it's essentially they want to kind of help be a community hub to bring people to their co-working space. So a lot of times you'll find mutually beneficial relationships that you can actually meet for free, because it's an hour. If you add 15 minutes at the front and end for setup and teardown, it's like an hour 45, 2 hours max, and we meet once a month, so it's like one day a month, like 2 hours. If you want to charge a community user group for that, then you can. The library did charge us, but a lot of places don't. There was a local community college that also charged us for one of the meetings, but a lot of people don't. Plan your meetings. So this is getting started is one thing. Keeping it going is way harder. It's easy to kind of plan and start one meeting and kind of stick your flag in the sand. It's easy to just like it's easy to install WordPress and say I started a blog, but it's way harder to blog every week and keep going and be consistent or something. So this is really hard to meet every week and have it well planned. Get your speakers lined up. all that kind of stuff. It's just hard, and it's work. As for finding speakers, direct email invitations work great, and they're kind of flattering. So if there's a speaker in your area that you know might be a good fit for your group, just direct email them and be like, hey, we've got this group starting up. We noticed you do work in, we noticed you created super awesome library.js, and we'd love for you to talk about that at our group. And a lot of times they're not going to say no, because that's kind of flattering. You're like, oh wow, yeah, I did create that library. Okay, they want me to talk there. Okay, yeah, I'll do that. That's community, So you're not gonna. They work great that way. So if you can pinpoint individual people that you want to come talk, even if it's like a little bit of a drive, they're likely to do it when their schedule allows. So they may not be able to come like right away, but maybe the next month or the next month they'll come out. So there's also the question of when are you going to meet? So are you going to meet at lunch or after work? OKCJS uses lunch meetings with free food. And this works really well if you're in a good location, a central location that a lot of people work. Because everyone takes a lunch break. I'm going to say typically an hour, sometimes shorter. But if that lunch break is also combined with some learning, the company is going to be very likely to let them take a little longer lunch break. So maybe they'll take a 2-hour lunch one day a month and get some learning in with a free lunch. And it works really good to get people out. Yeah.
Just curious, how do you pay for the food?
Next slide. Yeah, sponsors. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So it can be your meetings can be community driven. You don't always have to have a speaker and have them be like 45 minutes time slot or something. We do a lot of lightning talks in OKCJS. We do a lightning talk every quarter, so we do 4 a year. You can also do like a town hall kind of meeting at the PHP user group. We do a town hall meeting every now and then, 1 maybe 2 a year, just to kind of, if we want to group together and just talk about random. We'll have a list of topics, like we're going to talk about this, testing with PHP unit and I don't know, and using microframeworks versus MVC, and using and you can have topics, and you can just kind of have a nice discussion. You might hear some ideas that you might not have otherwise heard. So your meetings can be community driven. They don't always have to be this big planned thing. Our lightning talks are super popular at OKCJS. We basically do 5 slots of 10 minutes, and the first 5 to sign up get it. And they're usually, it's signed up like the next day that we announce they're all signed up and filled, because JavaScript is one of those things, like everyone does something in JavaScript. So you might run into this cool library that you want to share. You might have written this jQuery plugin to do this specific thing that you had to do a lot at work. You might do something else, but that can be similar in any other language. Just you can talk about, and we don't limit. You can talk about whatever. We've had people talk about mobile animation, super beginner level like JavaScript stuff. It's been all over the board, but it's been great. We've had a person talk about like mental illness stuff for a lightning talk, and that was actually a really good talk. So it's wide open. Mailing lists, I kind of went all over this on the other slide, but use something like MailChimp. They give you 2,000 free emails a month. You're never going to hit that if you're in a user group, probably. Like, it's always going to be free for you. Yeah, I told you this. We passed around sheets of paper at our user group meetings, especially the first few. You want to get it going. If you put a link to the sign up form on your website, if you use something like MailChimp, they will give you a link that you can just send people to, and you just put a button on your site that says sign up for our mailing list, and mash the button, and you just go over to MailChimp, plug in your email, and then you're on the list. And that's it. And then MailChimp has a bunch of templates where you can basically just plug in your event time, your topic, your location, and if there's free food, you probably want to advertise that in the meeting, like when you're meeting, where you're meeting at, all that kind of stuff. So we do 2, on average, just 2 emails a month. We email the meeting announcement, and then we have a reminder email the day before.
So with your mailing list, do you also do like a Facebook or a Twitter? Or
we have Twitter and Facebook and a Google Plus account as well that we just posted on. But if you use MailChimp, again, you get a link to the online version of the newsletter if you're not signed up on the list. And so you can just take that link and just drop it in Twitter and Facebook and Google+, and it's no effort. Like, you just say the title, the meeting, hey, we're meeting this month. This month's topic is, how to make rainbows shoot out of buttons with JavaScript, and you just link to it. So it's awesome. So how to get free food? You have to find a sponsor. You have to find someone to pay for it. Obviously, someone's going to have to pay for it. Hopefully that's not you, but if you're willing to, and the group's small enough, it can be a minimal amount. It can be like $50 or $30. Most people can probably swing that pretty easy. You can also, if it's a group effort, you can also ask for everyone to bring like a couple bucks and do some kind of community pool. But you can also just call some local tech companies. If you're running starting a Ruby user group, you can call some companies in town that use Ruby. If you're starting a, .NET group, you can call some companies use .NET, and they're probably going to want their logo on it. Not unless you're a 501(c) charitable organization. So no, but they probably will want to have their logo on it. And so what you do to get around the tax problem, what we did until we started our own foundation, is you just never take money. So because if you take money, that is now taxable income on your personal tax return. If you take money as a user group leader, even if you're buying food or something from it. So what you do is you say, you just explain that, and you ask them to buy the food. And if it's pizza, they can just order the pizza online and have it delivered, and already pay for it online. So it's not a big deal. And then you can just sign for it, or they can have a representative there to sign for it, and they can talk for they can give a little minute, like, hi, we're X company. We do we love shooting rainbows out of buttons in JavaScript. So if you love that, come join us. And most companies would be happy to do that. Because everyone who isn't hiring like right now, it should be I'm not trying to trivialize it, but it should be fairly easy to find some company that would want their logo associated with some community effort. Some recruiter, I put recruiters on here. So one of our actually best sponsors has been Robert Half Technology for the user group, and I know, like, a lot of tech people have a negative opinion of recruiters, and not some of that is not undeserved, but they can also be really beneficial, because a recruiter is going to have a lot of connections with companies all over your town, and they're going to know exactly what tech stack what company's working in, because they're going to know what they're hiring for. So if you say, well, we're trying to find a sponsor, we're trying to start this group, we're trying to find this sponsor, they might just outright sponsor it because they're hiring too, indirectly, but they are. If they don't, you might say, okay, well, do you know any companies that might be interested that are hiring for .NET? And they can actually be recruiters can actually be a resource for you when you're getting started. Obviously, you don't want ones that are like spammy or whatever, but you can find a good one. They'll be a good resource for you. Yeah. So growing the community. So once you've plant a seed and grow your user group, you can start to look at then, how do I grow other user groups? How do I user group? Maybe not that many, but how do I manufacture this thing, or some kind of process for getting multiple user groups started? I've got this quote here. It's really good. Just about community, why community is so awesome. One of the marvelous things about community is that it enables us to welcome and help people in a way we could not as individuals. When we pool our strength and share the work and responsibility, we can welcome many people, even those in deep distress, and perhaps help them find self-confidence and inner healing. This book is more of just general communities, why they're important, but it really applies to programming and stuff too, because you'll find a lot of programmers that are really intimidated by all other developers that know a lot more than them. Or they'll be maybe coming way late in the game, and they're like, man, am I too old for this? Everyone's 20, And so this is something anyone can do. It just takes time to learn. So what better way to help someone than to create some community with the goal of teaching everyone. So your goal here in this stage, after you've started one and are helping the wider community, is to remove risk and fear from other individuals that want to start a group. So that's your overriding thing, like, what can I do? So if you wanted to start a group, like, what are your roadblocks? It's finding a location. It's how do I get a sponsor? Is anyone going to come? It's like, how do I get the word out? So if you can focus on removing all that risk from you to where we'll give you everything you need if you have a user group, and if it's a decent enough, market, if it's not something super like niche, and if you have someone else with you, what kind of steps do you have to do to set this up? The key to this is securing a location, like a community hub. So this is really key, and this took us a while to do. I mean, like I said, we didn't really secure a location as a permanent meeting place until like a year ago. So, and we were running for 2.5 years. So less than the time that we've been running have we had this. But somewhere out there might be a company that cares so deep about community that they're wanting to be the community hub, or they're wanting to be known as that. It may cost some money. You can offset that. You can kind of mitigate that with some sponsors. But you really want to look for mutually beneficial partnerships, because those are the slam dunks. Like, everyone's winning. So we meet at Prototech, which is a makerspace. And essentially what we're doing for them is we're bringing people into their space. And there's this overlap between makers and programmers. Yeah.
I don't understand your terminology. What's a makerspace?
Okay, yeah, so sorry. Makerspace is like if you want to, like what we did with the name badges, right? Like soldering on the stuff, like making something physical, and then interfacing it with some kind of programming or something. A lot of it's 3D printing, or even just a tool shop. Maybe you want to, it can vary. Like, you can be building something with metal, you can do woodworking, you can do any kind of integrated electronics with Arduino boards, or Pinocchio, or any of the other electronics boards. Yeah, it's a do-it-yourself. Like, I want to build something, but I don't have all these really expensive tools, because a good commercial 3D printer is like $1,000.
Or a CNC router, or like any of those things. Like, you're not just going to have that in your garage.
Yeah, and if you're working, and if you're interested in woodworking, you're not going to have like a drill press and a huge giant table saw and all the stuff. So a lot of these makerspaces, they'll have all these tools, and you just buy a monthly membership. So you pay at Prototech, the one we meet at, you pay $50 a month, and you get access to everything. Like, they have huge drill presses and band saws and everything, in addition to some of the electronic stuff as well.
Yeah. If you ever want to take a look at a makerspace, the Transistor, they're the people who actually put together these badges.
They're on the web too?
On the web?
Do they have a web page?
Yeah, they do have a web page. I can't remember exactly where it is, but they're
I think there's a directory of makerspaces too.
Yeah.
You can probably just Google makerspaces, honestly.
Yeah.
But
yeah, just doing that right now, like,
yeah.
It comes up
Or you can just do makerspace and then your city.
Salt Lake City. Makerspace, Orem.
Yeah, something like that.
So are these guys in Orem?
You know, they were. I haven't been to their space in a long time. They moved out of Orem, but I think they recently moved back in. I don't know.
No, I thought they were in Salt Lake. So I don't know.
They were just on Geneva Road.
But there's a lot of crossover in a makerspace. So like, if it's a makerspace that does electronic stuff, all the electronic stuff needs to be programmed. Yeah. And so there's some crossover between people who make electronic things and people who can program them and make them work. And so by us bringing everyone in the tech community there, it helps them, and it's actually increased their membership. And it's their monthly fees, so they're probably getting anywhere from $250 to $500 extra a month since we started meeting there. So, and that's hugely beneficial for everyone. Yeah, okay. So when a group, you have to have a plan. So when a group comes to you and says, I want to start, how do you do that? So when I say find a space or time that works to me, I don't mean necessarily space, because you found that in the location. What I mean is basically a time. Like the JavaScript user group meets every Tuesday, every third Tuesday of the month at 11:30 from 11:30 to 12:30. That's like our slot. And any other user group that comes in, we have to look at Prototype's calendar and say, when's a time that works for this other group to come in and do that. And us meeting at lunch, by the way, helps because most of the people who have memberships at these makerspaces have full-time jobs, and they come in after work to work on whatever. So we're not interrupting anyone working on their stuff by coming in at lunch. So you just have to kind of talk through some of this stuff. There's lots of setup, website, mailing list, Twitter, et cetera, how to find a sponsor. We have this massive, you can't see the outlines of the checkboxes. These are each little checkboxes in a GitHub repo. And you can't really see this URL down here, but if you go to github.com/Techlahoma, all of our Git repositories are there. Amanda Harlan, Jesse's wife, Jesse Harlan, the guy I started the group with, and Amanda both help with it, and they recently got married last year. And she set up this whole checklist of everything that we have to do to start a group, or not necessarily everything that we have to do, but everything that has to be done by someone. So this is everything there. Another thing you need to do is you need to set boundaries for the groups. So you need to have a code of conduct, absolutely. Positively 100% need to have one. Because you want to make sure that your community is inclusive to everyone and not offensive and not exclusionary, that kind of stuff. So when someone comes to us and says, I want to start this user group, the first thing we do is say, we have some kind of rules that you have to follow to agree to get support from us. You have to have at least 2 people starting it, so it can't just be one person. And you have to agree to our code of conduct, and you have to agree to enforce it in your user group. You also have to do the usual stuff, monthly meetings, all that kind of stuff to build. So the second thing is be open to all types of tech-related user groups. This is open source and this is Openwest, but not everyone's an open source developer, but they still may want a user group. So the Java user group, Java is open source, but a lot of their stuff is very enterprise-y kind of stuff, not for open source purpose. And there's .NET groups and some others that are not exactly open source flavor, but that's okay too, because they're part of the larger community and they participate in some other groups. So just keep it open to all types of tech-related user groups. And we're dying for a design group to come in. We would love for a design group to come in. And there was a Refresh user group. Refresh is like its national design user group, but they haven't. We used to have a Refresh OKC, and it died, and we're trying to get back started, but none of us are designers. So we're like, we want designers. I know there's a design community here. We're just not finding it yet. The community doesn't belong to anyone, any individual. So even if you had a role in starting it. So if I ever left Oklahoma City, I'd probably just resign from Techlahoma and leave that. It's not something I'm going to take with me because it's the community's. Maybe we don't have time for this anymore. But yeah, we're okay. This is Gene Roddenberry, creator of Star Trek. Essentially just about, another group might be different than you, but they can still contribute to the overall community, and their opinions and everything should be respected too. So it should be a delight in life to have variety. So just thought that fit the presentation. If you're really ambitious, like we were, you can start a nonprofit. And this, I think, is this nonprofit is actually what all this other stuff has flown out of. Once we started this nonprofit, we started setting up all this other stuff: the code repositories, the code of conduct, helping other groups get started. Helping other groups get started, et cetera, et cetera. If you start a nonprofit, It will expand your opportunities for support because now it's tax deductible. And it is the way it is. I wish all companies just wanted to give money just because they love the community, but you know, it's one of those things, you're just going to get more money when you're tax deductible. It legitimizes your efforts too. So you're going to be able to say, we are a legit nonprofit organization that's by the community for the community. And you might get more people that kind of support you, because instead of like saying, hey, oh, I want to start a user group. Oh, you should talk to that John Doe guy. He knows what he's doing. It's like, no, you should talk to the Open Source Utah, or you should talk to the Techlahoma Foundation. They know what they're doing, and it's just a lot. You'll get a lot more support, even from just individuals sending other people your way. So we started the Techlahoma Foundation. This is our logo. The downside, like I said, you only have to do it if you're ambitious. It does cost money because you have to incorporate it. And to do that, you need a lawyer. So you have tax filings every year, too, which you're probably going to have a CPA to pay for. And we had a logo designed by a member in the community for a discounted rate. And then the website doesn't necessarily cost money, but it costs our time to put up. So it does cost money. Someone's going to have to pay for that. It's probably not going to be a sponsor at first. So it can count as money that you're putting into the nonprofit that you can tax deduct, though. So Techlahoma costs $2,000 to set up. So. You can start a conference. I'm speaking at a conference right now, Openwest. You know, you guys have already kind of taken all these steps, like I said, which is awesome. But if you're in a community where there was nothing before and you're kind of getting started, it can be really risky to do a conference because it's very, very time intensive. You have to find a space, you have to book it, you have to pay for it, you have to make sure all the AV hookups are there. I mean, there's tons of just minutia everywhere. All the lunch, there's badges, registration, all that kind of stuff. And you have to have a lot of volunteers too. Consider partnering if you can. We run a conference called Thunder Plains in Oklahoma City, and we partner with another company that does events there called Initech. And Initech mainly does IT related stuff. So they have like IT and kind of businessy stuff. And so we just asked them if we could do a tech group with them. And they reserve out the Cox Center downtown Oklahoma City, which is like the biggest convention center in Oklahoma City. We'd never be able to afford that by ourselves. But it's an awesome location if you can be in it. But because we're partnering with them, we can just say, we need 3 rooms. Can you reserve just 3 extra rooms when you do your reservations? And they do this full time. So the time commitment, like they travel around putting on conferences. So they're already there doing one, supporting us as a side conference kind of is no big deal for them. They have a staff and everything that handles it. So that was really awesome for us, and we just do a revenue split with them on it. So it saves us tons of time, saves us tons of money. If you are starting without that, you can start with a one-day event with like 1 or 2 tracks. That Red Dirt JS that I mentioned at the beginning was just a one-day. It was like 6 talks. That was it. It was like $75 or something, or 50. Well, no, it was like 75. But what? Yeah. All right. You can start with mostly or only local speakers at first. And you can start in just like a single room in a community college or something, or an auditorium. A single small auditorium's a lot easier to find than something as huge as 1,500 attendees. So this is Thunder Plains. We had 2 tracks and 2 attendees, 140 attendees roughly in 2013. That was our first year. And we started with 2 tracks because we had a partner, so we didn't have to handle all that stuff. So we were like, okay, it's okay to start a little bigger and try it. Also, there was that previous conference, Red Dirt JS, that had done the one day, so we knew there was some demand for something like that. We repeated it last year, expanded it to 3 tracks, and we sold out at 275 attendees 2 weeks before the conference. And so we were, and our early bird tickets, that call them lightning tickets, Thunder and Lightning, that our lowest rate, and they're like only 20 tickets. They sold out in the first hour that we announced them, which was awesome to see as an organizer. This year, we just announced our CFP, thunderplanesconf.com, if you want to check it out. We're mainly JavaScript and JavaScript-related stuff. We've had mobile, server-side, Node.js. We've had frameworks like Ember and Angular. We've had all kinds of HTML5 APIs, all kinds of that kind of stuff. This is when we sold out, and that contrast, you're not going to be able to see that. But if you do a conference, what you don't see here is dates. So you get a Lightning ticket. It's the first 85. It's the first 20 tickets. And that's it. The Thunder ticket was August through August 15th. It was $100. If you waited through September, you know what? I'll just read it over here. 12th, it was $110. That's good eyesight, however. The regular pass, if you waited till the day before the conference, it was $125, and if you waited till the day of, it was $150. I really recommend this tiered pricing because what this does, most people wait until the end. Most people wait till like the last 2 weeks to buy tickets, and you really kind of guessing at how many people you have until like right at the end. You would not believe how many people wait until the last minute. You see your ticket sales and you're like, oh, is this thing gonna happen? And then you're like, whoa, like what the heck? Like now we have 150 attendees now. We had like 75 a week ago, you know?
If you go on the first conference, do you suggest charging for it?
Yes, you have to, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's no way you can do it for free. You're not going to get lunch for free. You're not going to get a space for free. You're not going to get anything for free. So, yeah, absolutely charge.
How did you decide on the pricing?
This is the second year we did it, so the pricing is a little bit higher. The first year we did it, I think we had $65 as our Lightning ticket, and then we only had $75 and then $100 at the door, and that was it. So it's kind of arbitrary. Pricing is always arbitrary. You just pick something that works. And you don't know until it works until after you try it. So it's one of those things, you know, you just look at conferences around you and see what they're doing that are similar in size, and then, you know, kind of guesstimate a price in there somewhere. I do highly recommend time boxing the tickets, because that way you get kind of a spike and then a little spike and then a little spike. It's much more consistent revenue. It makes people register earlier. We also had a group. If you bought 5 or more tickets, like for companies, you got them for $100 a ticket, even all the way up till the day of. So we had a herd ticket, because we're like, our logo is like bison, buffalo, like a herd. So anyway, and that's all you have to do. So it's really easy, right? The community starts with you. This is like you on this side of the river, and you have to get everyone else to like care about the community as much as you do. So. Are there any questions?
Is there a place we can download this?
I haven't put the slides up yet, but I will. Okay. You can follow. Yeah, I put my Twitter right here.
And you'll just put it up when you.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, Joined In. I will put a link to them on Joined In.
Okay.
And I will also tweet them out if you're following me. But Twitter's kind of like, a tweet lives like 3 minutes. So if you don't see the tweet, then they will be on the Joined In site linked. Our website's okcjs.com, and the Techlahoma Foundation that we started is techlahoma.org. So, thanks.